My name is Tylluan Penry. I'm a solitary pagan witch, and today I'm going to talk a little bit to you about the witch hunts. Now, it is very important to understand that the witch hunts were not all these terrible torturing and burning and hangings in England in particular. All these things were not only directed at witches. They were directed at people who were somehow they'd committed sacrilege, or they weren't quite believing the accepted form of religion as it was at that time. So, what I wanted to talk to you about today is something called the Malleus Malleficarum, and it was first published in 1487. I've got notes today because some of it's quite specific and I really wouldn't be able to remember all of it. 1487, so the date is quite significant because it was published just as printing was coming in. And this meant it could be disseminated, it could be sent all over Europe. So it was one of those books that was much easier to get hold of than any book had been hitherto. It was very popular, and the reason I'm going to mention it today is one of its accusations against witches was the belief that men could have their penises stolen. Now, you know, in the middle of this terribly serious discussion about, you know, the sexual crimes of witches, and the Inquisition at that time was absolutely obsessed with the sexual misdemeanours of witches. You know, it was very purulent. The author says that witches steal men's penises and keep about 20 of them shut up but still alive in birds' nests. Now, people died because of this rubbish. Anyway, just in case you're worrying, we do have a lot of birds' nests in our garden and there isn't a single willy in one of them. Anyway, I think even the authors at the time realised that this was a little bit far-fetched. And so they added, you know, it's like a lot of things. You spot these weasel words, you know, even today in the media. They said, this has been seen by many and is a matter of common talk. You know, never mind the facts, let's just get on with the gossip. Anyway, they then went on to give a specific example, and, you know, this was a man who had been deprived of his manhood. He went to a local witch to try and get it back. So she told him to climb a certain tree, and he would find a nest containing many penises, all stolen, and he could take whichever he liked. Now this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so what did he do? What would any man do? He chose the biggest. And quick as a flash, the witch said, no, you can't have that when it belongs to the parish priest. This is in a book which was used as a handbook to torture and kill people accused of witchcraft. You couldn't make it up, could you? You know? What does it mean? Why? What was it? You know, what were they really afraid of? But it's the same thing nowadays. You find it in certain countries in the world where people are being killed, murdered, burned with tires around their neck and all sorts of horrible things because they're believed to be a witch, and because the mere sight of them would cause a man to lose his private bits. You know, there's a lot of things like that. And I've got another one which is rather fun, because in the ancient Greek and Roman Empire you find a lot of things like brooches, pendants, things like that, which are actually a willy, often a willy with wings, which is obviously where this idea about it going into a bird's nest came from. And you find a lot of artwork. And in case you think, oh well, this is just something from long ago, and you know, the early church wouldn't have fallen for it. Well, of course they did, because the Malleus Malleficarum was 1487. And even St. Augustine, who really should have known better, and he was writing in the 4th century, he was harping on about ancient fertility processions. And he's describing something in Italy, and I've got to read it to you because you've really got to visualise this one. These certain rites of Liber were celebrated in Italy, which were of such unrestrained wickedness that the shameful parts of the male were worshipped at crossroads in his honour. For during the days of the the festival of Liber, this obscene member, placed on a little trolley, was first exhibited with great honour at the crossroads in the countryside, and then conveyed into the city itself. Now, just think of it, the modern equivalent of getting a shopping trolley and having this large phallic sculpture in it, wheeling it all around, worshipping it, and then taking it into the town centre. And, I think sometimes it's good to have a laugh, It's good to smile at these things, for all they were so horrible. Because when I talked about weasel words earlier, you could see it in what St. Augustine wrote. It was obscene. It was a shameful part. No, it isn't. I mean, you probably would be arrested now if you went and did something like that, putting a massive phallus on a trolley and wheeling it round. They'd find something to arrest you for, I'm sure. But the point is, these things are not obscene. It's something that was concocted, if you like. It was something that was drummed into us. Drummed into our grandfathers, great-grandfathers, great-great-grandmothers, and so on going back. And it's time we put a stop to it. It's time all this is left behind. And we have to really embrace life, embrace all these things for what they are. But I do hope it's given you something to smile about, just for today. And thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.